Hi everyone, in today's tutorial I am going to draw this tree with pen and ink. In the next video I'll be coloring it with watercolor. Now if you want to follow along, you can download the reference photo. The download link is in the video description below. So what I like about this tree is how the lines are moving. So sometimes they move upwards, sometimes they move downwards, sometimes they move to the left and to the right. And the shapes that are made by the branches, these shapes that are made between the branches, these shapes are pretty interesting. Now if you want to take your own reference photo, I suggest you point up to a tree where you can see lines that are moving downwards, left and right. So for this particular photo that I have, most of the lines are actually moving upwards. So we only have a few lines that move downwards. Anyway, they will become more obvious later on. This is the customized sketchbook that I'm using today. It's made with indigo art papers, 100% handmade watercolor paper. This is the Duke 209 fountain pen. It's a fountain pen with a fude nib, which is a bent nib, so it's capable of drawing thin and thick lines. This is a very affordable fountain pen that you can find on eBay. Comes in silver or black, and the ink that I'm using inside is this The Atramantis document ink, brown color. This is supposed to be waterproof when dry. The part where the tree trunk starts to spread out into the branches is somewhere around here. So the branches, they take up this space. So this is the basic proportion that I'm working with. So I'm going to start by drawing the tree trunk first, which is sort of in this angle. So I'm going to start here at the edge of the paper and draw this line here. Now drawing a tree like this from live on location, it's very difficult because you have to tilt your neck and it's very tiring. So that's why I'm drawing this with the help of a reference photo. And this pen, notice how I can tilt the angle of this pen to get thin and thick lines. And you don't want the lines to be perfectly straight because this is a tree trunk. There will be imperfections on the surface. This is where the tree trunk will come down, like this. Now as you're drawing, pay attention to how much space you are left on the page. So I'm going to draw this part a bit smaller so that I can fit the whole branch in. And also notice the thickness of the line. Sometimes they are thick, sometimes they are thin. So this part here will come up slightly and then it will turn to the right slightly, go up and then turn to the left. And this is the other side of that branch. It will come down like this, goes to the right side. We have another tree branch that comes up. So I'm just going to extend it slightly. I'm not going to draw it whole yet because I want to continue drawing this branch, this larger branch. And notice this paper, it's quite rough. So with pen and ink, you're going to see those little imperfections. And this reference photograph, by the way, it's taken with a backlit, with the sky bright, so it's very difficult to see the details under the tree. So just enjoy the drawing process, spend a lot of time, focus on observing the tree, and spend the rest of the time checking your drawing. So this will come out. Now my drawing is not perfectly, it's not a direct copy of the tree because some parts my measurements are a bit off, but you should try and get the general shape of the tree, especially where the branches intersect and also the shapes within the branches. And don't draw the lines too straight because you don't really see those straight lines in nature. So for this part here, as it moves up, it turns right slightly. And then it goes up again. So this is the other branch, comes down like this, turns left, goes up, and goes up like this, and comes down like this, and then goes up again. And there is this little, tree branch stop here that juts out like this. And this will go to the left side. Now this curve here, this is smooth, so don't draw a sharp angle there. Comes up here, goes up, and turns right, and goes all the way up. So my measurements are definitely a bit off here and there. So I have thin lines here. Now notice this part here. Notice this line here that goes all the way down here and intersects at this point and this point. Now this intersection in particular, it has this line going here. So it looks like this branch here, it's on top, in front of this branch here. So that's how intersecting lines work. So for this part here, for example, I can draw something like this. And then we can draw something like this. And this intersection here will give you the illusion that this branch is actually behind this part here. And here we have another branch that goes up like this. So we will just continue drawing the branches. Now for the thinner branches, I would draw them with thinner lines. And also for the branches that are further behind, that are further away, I would also draw them with thinner lines. For the branches or the tree trunk that is near to me, I will draw them with thicker lines. It has something to do with perspective. Things that are further away are going to look smaller. So we can draw them with smaller or thinner lines. For instance here, this branch is going to split into two smaller branches. So now I can still draw these two branches with thicker lines. But once it branches out into the smaller branches, I want to draw the lines thinner. If you are using the same fountain pen that I am, you can tilt the angle of the fountain pen to get the thin lines. If you are using the very typical fountain pen, then you can turn the fountain pen nib on the other side to draw the thinner lines. Or you can tilt the fountain pen upwards like this. If you are using some other pens, I'm not sure which pen you're using. Some pens, they are not able to create lines like this, thin and thick lines like this. So notice I have this line continue behind this branch here. So as you're drawing, try to follow the curves of the little imperfections of the straight lines, the branches, as closely as you can. This is perhaps the best subject for those people who say that they cannot draw straight lines, because here you don't have to draw straight lines. Drawing a detailed subject like this can be quite therapeutic. So you really have to focus, you have to get in the zone, so to speak. You know that there's this phrase called getting in the zone. That's when the artist really focus on the drawing and lose track of time. And when you look back at your clock, maybe an hour or two has passed. I also try and vary the line thickness here and there once in a while. It will make your drawing more interesting than just a drawing with lines that are uniform throughout. Now there are certain subjects that demand you using the lines, using uniform lines throughout, but there are some subjects that don't. Using thin and thick lines here is going to make the drawing more interesting. And for branches where you may find it difficult to draw the thickness of the branch, like the left and right side of the branch, especially for branches that are very far away, you just have to draw it with a single line. And as the branches turn, the direction of the lines as they turn down, you should of course move your pen down. So really spend more time looking at your subject rather than your drawing. Just look at your drawing once in a while to check where you are. Make sure that the proportion is still correct. But otherwise, spend more time focusing on your subject. Another thing to note about tree branches is the angle at which they split. So sometimes they split at a very gentle angle, but sometimes they split perpendicular to the tree branch. But most of the time, they split at an angle. They are not going to be perpendicular to the tree branch. So those are the angles that you should look out for. So this is what I have so far. Now notice the lines here, they do not continue. That's because there are leaves in front of the tree branches. So later on when I color with watercolor, I'll have the leaves here. So I don't want to connect the lines. And here you see these standalone lines because there are going to be leaves around as well. So this is some pre-planning before I paint. So that's it for today's video. In the next video, we will be coloring this with watercolor.